जी मैडम। हेलो,
हेलो।
आवाज आ रही
हेलो।
है मैडम?
जी जी।
मैडम
हाँ।
आपकी आवाज थोड़ी कम आ रही है वहां से, थोड़ा
एक
ऊंचा बोलिएगा।
मिनट जरा। ओके नाउ इट्स ओके।
जी जी जी, सही है।
ओके।
जी मैडम, आप स्टार्ट कर दें क्लास।
ओके। Assalamualaikum. I am Dr. Rehana, Assistant Professor Radiology. Can you hear me properly?
जी मैडम, सब सुन रहे हैं आपको।
Okay. Okay. Today's our topic is the imaging technique involved in diagnosis of the bone marrow. I will deliver the lecture. Then in the end, you can ask the question answer in the chat box. Okay. So now, to start my lecture, what is the main theme for the diagnosis and detection of the bone tumor? Basically, majority of the bone tumor are detected by using the conventional radiograph, mean plain X-ray. Just plain X-ray, majority of the tumor are detected. Occasionally, occult lesion may be detected by using more sensitive techniques such as bone scintigraphy, MRI, or in some cases the CT. The careful analysis of the pattern of the bone destruction are with periosteal reaction, matrix mineralization on the radiograph allow for the characterization of bony bone tumor. Because bone tumors are basically causes the every bone tumor causes typical type of the bone destruction. So majority they are diagnosed on the conventional. The cross sectional imaging is done for the local extent or involvement of the disease of a tumor or any vascular involvement. Uh, Plain X-ray is the first imaging modality which is used for the detection of the tumor. The additional factor that should be included in determining the likely diagnosis include the age of the patient, location of the tumor in bone, and any history of the radiotherapy. Because some of the tumor are because of the chemo radiotherapy due to certain any tumors, the bone tumors are arise. Before assessing the imaging, the radiologist established uh, some basic facts regarding the patient: age, gender, family history, past medical history, multiplicity of the lesion. For radiology, it is very important about the clinical history, in which we assess the age, gender, family history, past medical history, any history of the family history of the tumor, because certain tumors are the inherited. So yeah, in some cases they are the more common in the with families. So basically radiology depend on the clinical history. It is not a wholly solely the diagnostic. It is somewhat clinical radiology. So we have to need about the clinical history of the patient. This is the gross overview. Okay, which tumors are common in a young age and which tumors are common in the old age. Basically, the basic division is between the 30, less than 30, more than 30. In the first 2 decades, the simple bone cyst, Ewing sarcoma, chondroblastoma, non-ossifying fibroma, osteochondroma, fibrous dysplasia. These are the most common. These are most common in first 2 to 3 decade. On these tumor have a typical presentation radiologically. So they are diagnosed on the basis of the plain X-ray mostly. Just like in non-ossifying fibroma, we have nothing to do with the patient. This is asymptomatic benign tumor, so we just leave it. But certain tumor can lead with time with fracture on a minor trauma, or there may be malignant transformation, or certain tumor like the osteosarcoma. These are the malignant. These are common in a young age, but these are malignant. So we have to treat these patients. Otherwise, most of the tumor in a young age, these are the benign, except the Ewing sarcoma or the osteosarcoma. And in the old age, most common tumor are GCT, enchondroma, fibrosarcoma, or achondrosarcoma, myeloma, METs. After the 40 years of age, the multiple myeloma and the metastasis are the most common tumor in the most common tumor, malignant tumor. So this is the diagrammatic representation that where these tumors are present. In less than 30, like in the medullary cavity, in the midline, these are the fibrous dysplasia, Ewing sarcoma, simple bone cyst, enchondroma, or a chondromyxoid fibroma. But on the periphery or a eccentric location, these are the non-ossifying fibroma, osteosarcoma, ABC, aneurysmal bone cyst, and in the epiphysis, there are the only few tumors which involve the epiphysis, like the chondroblastoma or any infection. Infection is not a tumor, but basically it comes in the differential diagnosis of the tumor most of the time. So the infection usually involve the epiphysis in a young age. In a little bit older age, it may involve the metaphysis. So in the when the patient is more than 30 years, we top differential are the MEDS, myeloma, lymphoma, which involve the medullary cavity, and enchondroma, chondrosarcoma, which also involve the medullary cavity, but in the metaphysis. GCT, geode or infection, these are in the epiphyseal region. The imaging modalities which are basically used for the diagnosis of the for the workup of the tumor, bone tumor, include the X-ray, CT, MRI, skeletal scintigraphy, and ultrasound. X-ray is the most important or a basic investigation. Without X-ray, we cannot proceed to further imaging. It helped to suggest which investigation is the best. Either we go for the CT, we go for the MRI, or a skeletal scintigraphy. For the CT, MRI is usually these cross-sectional imaging are for best local extent or for the metastasis workup. The plain radiograph are the initial and the most important imaging modality for the diagnosis of the bone tumor. CT is particularly useful in evaluating the cortex and the lesion matrix, because some lesions are lytic, some are sclerotic, some have a chondroid calcification, some have a osteoid calcification, which usually seen on the X-ray. But when there is a inconclusive X-ray, then we go for the CT. MRI is useful for in determining the intramedullary extent of the tumor, the soft tissue extent of the focal bone lesion, and also play a vital role in detecting the skip lesion, because some tumor involve the multiple area in a single bone. So the subtle or a small bone tumor can be detected by MRI. The commonest bone tumor in is MEDS from the other side, like breast, bronchus, prostate, thyroid, kidney, colon. Overall, the common tumor is the metastasis, but the common primary bone tumor is the multiple myeloma and the osteosarcoma. Multiple myeloma in the old age, osteosarcoma in a young age. The in adult the metastasis mean lytic metastasis from the breast and the bronchus, while in sclerotic metastasis commonly from the prostate and the breast. When a patient with a lytic mets in a female patient with a lytic mets, these are most common is the breast. Sclerotic mets in a male patient, most common is the prostate. In a children, the metastases are common from the neuroblastoma and the leukemia. The commonest primary bone tumor is the multiple myeloma and the osteosarcoma, while the commonest bone tumor is a general, primary and a secondary. MEDS is the commonest. Now the X-ray. Baseline investigation for evaluation of the bone tumor. Although the densities of the calcium, soft tissues, fat, and air can be discerned with a radiograph, but the resolution of the osseous anatomy is superior to that of soft tissue. We see this osseous mean is skeletal or a bone better on the than the soft tissues on the X-ray. By the X-ray, we can predict the nature of the lesion is 70 to 80, whether it is a aggressive or a benign, or it is a osteoid or a chondroid lesion. The radiograph can often yield a diagnosis or aid in appropriate selection and interpretation of the advanced imaging, particularly with the MRI. Without baseline investigation of the X-ray, MRI is most of the time is inconclusive. The clear anatomical knowledge is essential to interpret a X-ray. A minimum of two radiography projections taken at a right angle to each other of the body part of the interest are necessary for the evaluation. This is very mandatory for the skeletal review or any comment on the bone. We need at least two views. Most common, these are the AP and the lateral. Sometimes we need the oblique or certain other views which are particular to certain area, like for the scapula we go for the scapular view or axillary view. For the pelvis we go for the frog leg view. So these are the certain condition. Otherwise the basic, these are the AP and the lateral view. The certain region require specific views to predict the abnormality on the radiograph. What are the benefit of the X-ray? The fastest and the easiest ways to assess the bone tumor. It is relatively inexpensive and widely available. Even in ER, the X-rays are available. In every small or a large setup, the X-rays are available. It is very fast and easy, so useful in emergency diagnosis and the treatment. While what are the risks? There is a mild radiation exposure. However, for the benefit of an accurate diagnosis, for outweigh the risk, because we have to diagnose the disease, so we assess the risk versus benefit, whether it helped the patient management or not. The systemic approach to diagnose a bone tumor is the patient's age. It is very important. The most important clinical feature of the patient is the age, then the morphology of the lesion. Okay, whether it's a lytic, sclerotic, or a mixed type of the lesion. Then the pattern of the bone destruction. Age of the lesion or a zone of transition. Mean it is a well-defined or ill-defined. We cannot separate the normal bone and lesion. Location of the lesion, longitudinal wise, like in the epiphysis, metaphysis, and diaphysis, or a transverse plane, whether it is in the medullary cavity or in the cortical lesion. Then the lesion is a solitary or a multiple. So basically the bone tumor are usually solitary, but when certain bone tumor, these are the multiple or a metastasis come in the differential diagnosis. Then the periosteal reaction. Whenever there is a erosion or a destruction of the cortex, the periosteal reaction occur, and then there is a extraosseous extension, mean the soft tissue involvement. We have to assess all these things during the diagnosis of the tumor. When we see a radiograph, we first assess whether the lesion is lytic with a well-defined margin or ill-defined, and or it is a sclerotic. Because there are the certain tumor are the sclerotic, otherwise majority are the lytic lesion. Then we assess the patient age, whether it is a less than 30 years or a more than 30 years. Location in the skeletal, long axis, mean axial skeletal or appendicular skeletal is involved, or a epiphysis, metaphysis, diaphysis, or it is in the medullary cavity or a cortex. When there is a medullary cavity, we use the word centric or intramedullary, or when it is out of the involve the cortex or the in the lateral aspect of the medullary cavity, we use the term eccentric, mean not in the center. Then the other thing, the lesion is solitary or a multiple. Is there any periosteal reaction, cortical dissection, or a soft tissue involvement? For the location of lesion, when we see the X-ray, we roughly assess the age on the, it is unfused skeletal when the epiphysis and the metaphysis are not involved, not fused. Mean it is a young patient, we roughly assess. When these are fused, this line is invisible. We assess the patient is somewhat age aged. So the epiphysis, these are the epiphysis. Then this concave portion is the metaphysis, and after that there is the diaphysis, which is the shaft of the lung tumor. Epicenter of the bone tumor diagrammatic representation, whether it is a epiphysis, it is a metaphysis, diaphysis, or it is in the metadiaphysis, mean at the junction of the metaphysis and diaphysis. This concave portion is the metaphysis. Then here is the diaphysis. So we assess there is a metadiaphysal region or the diaphysis, metaphysis or epiphysis. Then in the bone, whether it is a central, eccentric, cortical, intra-articular mean there's a juxtacortical mean along the cortex, along the articular surface, or it is the parosteal juxtacortical mean it is outside the bone in along the cortex of the tumor. So we have to assess all these locations. So these are the multiple X-rays of different tumors. But just now we assess there is a this is the central tumor because it is in the center of the bone. This is the radius. So there is a central diaphyseal region. This is the cortical or eccentric metadiaphyseal region. Eccentric. And this is the central diaphyseal region because it is in the center. So we have to assess whether it is in the central, this is the eccentric region, or central, or sometimes there are certain tumors are within the cortex. In this small cortex, they are the tumor like osteoid osteoma. It is the most common in the cortical based lesion. Then there is a bone destruction. How it is presenting, whether it is a geographic, moth-eaten, or a permeative. Normally, there is a medullary cavity is just like this. When there is a long lytic lesion, big lytic lesion, so it is a geographic destruction. When there are the multiple lytic lesion, just like something bite by the rat, so these are the mouth eaten destruction. When there are the very small, multiple, ill-defined, small lucency within the cortex, it is a permeative type. So these are the different patterns. Certain tumor causes the geographic destruction, certain mouth-eaten, certain permeative type of the destruction, or certain can be any type of the destruction depending upon the geographic. This is the diagram X-rays of the these type of the destruction. There is a geographic lesion with which is lytic, and there is a well-defined margin, a sclerotic margin. Usually, these tumors are not aggressive, are a small, minimally aggressive. Then there are the multiple small lesions within the medulla of the humerus. So these are the mouth eaten. The when we go from geographic, mouth eaten, and the permeative, the aggressiveness being increasing. Here are the certain small lucency. This is the permeative type of the destructive lesion, which is most commonly caused by the Ewing sarcoma in a child. Then the margin of a lesion or a zone of the transition. Zone of transition basically mean the zone from where we can separate the normal and abnormal bone. When the lesion is well defined, whether it has a sclerotic margin or not, it has a narrow zone of transition. Mean we can separate out where is the disease process, where is the normal bone. Just like there is a punched out lesion or a geographic lesion, but there is no any sclerotic margin, but we can separate. This is abnormal lesion and bone lesion. This is the normal bone. There is a thin sclerotic line, and we can separate. There is a this is the narrow zone of transition. So we can separate the normal abnormal bone. Then there is a thick rim of the sclerosis. Sclerosis mean brightness. Basically, on X-ray, sclerosis appear as a bright. So this is the we can separate the zone of transition. But when there is a ill-defined lesion and there's a we cannot separate where the disease and where the normal bone, because sometimes we feel disease process here, but sometimes we see there is a normal bone here, so there is a wide zone of transition and we cannot differentiate the normal and abnormal bone where these are separated. So these lesions are basically aggressive. Whenever there is a narrow zone of transition, these are basically a benign lesion. Now you can assess there is a osteolytic geographical lesion without sclerotic margin. So this is the uh, 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 narrow zone of transition. Here is the osteolytic lesion with multiple septa, thin sclerotic margin. We can separate this is the normal bone, this is the abnormal lesion. So there is also a narrow zone of transition. But here there is a ill-defined margins, ill-defined lesion, multiple lucencies, sclerosis, and there is a cortical erosion with periosteal reaction. This white line outside is the periosteal reaction. So this is the aggressive lesion. We cannot separate where this is normal or abnormal bone. So there is a wide zone of transition, and this is an aggressive lesion. Then the matrix of the lesion mean osteolytic lesion have some calcification or a not. If it is a calcification, it is of osteoid nature or a cartilaginous nature. The punctate and arc-like mineralization or a calcification occurs in the cartilaginous tumor, solid cloud-like in the osseous tumor. Like you see, they are these both are the matrix mineralization are there, but these are the different. This is the chondroid type. This is the osteoid type. When there are the punctate, small dots, and there are the arc, you see there the arc like calcification. So this is the chondroid calcification, and when there are the certain solid cloud like calcification, so this is the osteoid calcification, mean the tumor is osteogenic, and this is the cartilaginous tumor. Cartilaginous mean chondrosarcoma, enchondroma, or osteochondroma. So in these cases, there is a cartilaginous calcification, while the osteoid matrix is in the osteoid tumor like osteosarcoma, or in some cases of the osteoblastoma in these cases. Then there is a periosteal reaction. Whether it is a benign or a more aggressive, we assess on the X-rays. When there is a uninterrupted, means solid or a continuous periosteal reaction, it is a benign. But when there is a more aggressive, when there is a interrupted, somewhere is a periosteal reaction, or some where is a not, or there is a lamellar periosteal reaction, mean multiple layers of the white lines are seen, lamellar onion skin periosteal reaction, or there is a sunburst periosteal reaction, when there the white lines are at the right angle perpendicular to the long axis of the bone. Or these are because these periosteal reaction occur when there is a cortical destruction. Otherwise, no periosteal reaction doesn't occur. And malignant lesion obviously causes the cortical destruction, and benign doesn't. So, or there is a Codman's triangle. Mean the white line is at the 45-degree angle to the bone. These are making the 45 angle. So Codman triangle. So these are the multiple types of the periosteal reaction on the X-ray. You see this white line. This is the Codman's type of the periosteal reaction. This is because of there is a osteolytic or a mixed type of the aggressive lesion what causes the cortical distraction with a sunburst periosteal reaction, and there is a Codman triangle. This is another case. There is a geographic or mouth eaten lesion which is causes the cortical distraction, and there are the multiple white lines. You see, there are the multiple white lines. So this is the focally interrupted periosteal reaction or a just periosteal. Here are the multiple lines going here and there continuation. So this is the lamellar or a onion skin periosteal reaction, which is most common occur in the Ewing sarcoma, and so the differential would come in these cases the infection or osteomyelitis. Then the how we differentiate roughly on the X-ray when there is a benign lesion, it is a well-defined plus minus sclerotic margin. There is a no any soft tissue component, or there may be some periosteal reaction which is a solid and a continuation. There is a geographic bone dissection. Cortex is usually not destroyed. In these cases, usually fracture is most common. But whenever there is a aggressive lesion, there is a mouth eaten or a permeative type of bone destruction with a wide zone of transition, and there is a interrupted periosteal reaction like the Codman periosteal reaction or a sunburst periosteal reaction, and these lesions are most commonly associated with a soft tissue component. This is the table which show there are the multiple lesions with a well-defined margin, ill-defined margin, or a sclerotic lesion. In the well-defined margin, we see there is a in less than up to 10 years of age, eosinophilic granuloma, simple bone cyst is a common. 10 to 20 years of the age, simple bone cyst, aneurysmal bone cyst, and eosinophilic granuloma, fibrous dysplasia. These are the most common tumor. 20 to 40 years, GCT, enchondroma, chondrosarcoma. These are the most common with a well-defined margin. Above 40 years, MEDS, myeloma, these are the most common. MEDS, myeloma have every in the lytic lesion have a variable picture. They may be well defined, they may be ill defined, they may be geographic bone destruction, they may be mouth eaten post, depending upon the they have a variable course. And with well-defined margin, Ewing sarcoma, ill-defined margin, Ewing sarcoma, osteosarcoma, these are the most common. GCT is most common. In the young age, osteosarcoma is the most common tumor. While sclerotic margin, osteosarcoma is a very rare, but there osteoid osteoma, osteoblastoma, enchondroma, these are the common sclerotic lesion. So these are they are the certain X-rays. These are the X-ray knee joint AP and a lateral view. There is a well-defined sclerotic lesion, no any periosteal reaction, no cortical destruction, narrow zone of a transition, no soft tissue component. It is a benign lesion, likely bone island. Then this is a aggressive lesion, permeative type of the bone destruction with a wide zone of transition. It is causing cortical erosion with a sunburst of the periosteal reaction, and there is a Codman triangle. So this is an aggressive lesion, osteosarcoma. This is an X-ray which there's a markedly expansile osteolytic lesion with a soap bubble appearance, and it is in the metadiaphyseal region of the humerus with a narrow zone of a transition, and there's no any soft tissue component. This is the ABC or aneurysmal bone cyst. Now the CT scan. The CT scan is a non-invasive diagnostic and imaging procedure which uses a rotating X-ray source that is reformatted a cross-sectional imaging using a computer process. CT show a detailed image of different parts of the body, including the bone, muscle, fat, and the organ, as compared to X-ray. CT give more detail. Then there is a 3D imaging reformation is a possible. The risk is the main risk is the radiation exposure, but we have to assess the risk versus benefit. There is a risk of the allergic reaction when we are doing the contrast CT in case of the bone tumors. So we have to rule out the allergic history. Contraindications CT, the pregnant woman cannot go under the CT because of the radiation exposure, and the patient with a chronic disease because of the deranged urea creatinine, CT cannot be done with the contrast. Role of CT is it has a complementary role in diagnosis and local staging of the bone tumor. It is for the surgical planning, biopsy of the lesion. Certain tumors are in the somewhere location we do for the CT guided biopsy of the lesion. In home, we done in home. MRI is contraindicated, which I will cover in the MRI section. The CT provide a great morphological detail about the bone surrounding the lesion, and analysis can be applied in the same way as the classic radiographic margin analysis. Just like X-ray, we have to report the CT. Same pattern is applied. Main purpose of the CT is the scanning of the chest for the detection of the pulmonary mets in case of the malignant CA, especially osteosarcoma in a young patient, and multiple in adult chondrosarcoma. These are the most common malignant tumor. Role of the CT is it provide the better radiological information where X-ray fail due to limited contrast resolution or a complex anatomy like the spine, pelvis, or a scapula. In these cases, CT has a more role. Then the most important advantage of a CT over X-ray is its superior delineation of the cortical alteration, mean the cortical expansion or a remodeling, endosteal scalloping, focal penetration, which represent the most common form in the benign bone lesion. Because of the intramedullary lesion, it can do the certain pressure remodeling or a cortical expansion, which in some time we cannot assess on the X-ray. Then it show the early periosteal reaction that might be invisible on a X-ray. It detect the subtle matrix calcification which cannot we see on the X-ray. These are the this is the X-ray lateral view of the femur. This is the CT, and this is the 3D CT. 3D CT. So there is a bony outgrowth with chondrite calcification. The bone cortex is continuation with the bony lesion, and the medullary cavity is expanded in the bone. So this is the osteochondroma. On the CT, we see this is a better we can assess from where it is starting. On the 3D, this is the bony outgrowth. This is the patella, but this is the bony outgrowth in the metadiaphyseal region. This is the CT scan of the spine bone window. This is the axial section. This is the sagittal section. There is a osteolytic lesion, but there is a no any sclerotic margin, osteolytic geographic bone destruction, which is causing cortical erosion, somewhat cortical erosion. But there is a no any periosteal reaction. There is a no any soft tissue component, so it could be aneurysmal bone cyst. The CT scan showing bilateral multiple nodules. So these are the metastatic lesion. The main purpose of CT in assessing that is the metastasis. Then the MRI. MRI is a diagnostic modality that uses a combination of a large magnetic radio frequencies and a computer to provide the detailed images of the organ and the structure within the body. MRI does not use the ionizing radiation, so the pregnant patient can undergo the MRI. MRI is optimal to evaluate the soft tissue, articular cartilage, bone masses, and the marrow abnormalities. MRI is a very best for the articular cartilage involvement or a bone marrow signal changes. There is no any radiation exposure to the patient. The contraindication are very important because in these patients we cannot use the MRI because the MRI use a magnet. So whenever there is a metallic implant in the body, a patient cannot go in the MRI machine. Otherwise, there is a patient may stuck to the MRI machine and there may be the blast. So, in patient with a cardiac pacemaker, cochlear implant, some prosthetic heart walls, brain aneurysmal collapse or a coil, periorbital metallic fragment, surgical plates or a screw, some penile prostate, and the older cardiac stent were not, these patients were not undergo for the MRI. So first we have to rule out these, the patient have no history of these walls or a prostate. So then patient can go for the MRI. The MRI sequence most common used for the bone is for the bone lesion T1, T2, star, and the post contrast T1 weighted image. The T1 weighted image show the normal anatomy, very good. T2 show pick up the pathology. For the bone marrow edema, STAR is the best imaging modality, and for the lesion assessment, post contrast T1 is very important to assess the tumor and the metastasis because the lesion enhance. MRI is the best for the assessment of the intra and extraosseous extent in assessing for just articular involvement, for the neurovascular involvement, and the escape lesion. Neurovascular involvement is a very important, and the soft tissue involvement. This is the MRI femur, and this is the X-ray. The X-ray show there is a ill-defined osteolytic lesion with a osteoid matrix, and there is a huge huge sunburst type of the periosteal reaction. So this is an aggressive lesion, but on the we see there is a only this soft tissue we can assess, but which muscles are involved we cannot assess on these images. But on the MRI you see this soft tissue component is extending till here, proximal part of the femur, and it show which muscles are involved, which muscles are displaced, and here we cannot assess the zone of transition. Here you see this involvement is up to this level. So this is a superior in properly assigning and assessing the bone marrow involvement for the soft tissue component involvement. This is aggressive lesion osteosarcoma. This is another lesion on the X-ray. There is a certain lucency, but as an overview, we can avoid. We cannot assess any lesion. But on the MRI, you see there is a abnormal signals lesion with a soft tissue component. This is an aggressive lesion, Ewing sarcoma. Ewing sarcoma, most of the time we cannot assess on the conventional X-ray, but on the MRI, it usually pick. Then this is the CT I show previously for the aneurysmal bone cyst, but we cannot assess the what is inside. Aneurysmal bone cyst is a hemorrhage, vascular lesion in which there the hemorrhages occur. But on the MRI, we see there are the multiple fluid levels. You see the hyperintense signal. They are the variable signal which are showing levels. So this is the fluid level which is, have a certain diagnosis. Most common is the aneurysmal bone cyst. Then there is a, this is the X-ray, this is the MRI. X-ray show there is a ill-defined lesion with a chondrite calcification like arc and punctate type. On the MRI, it is clearly show which lesion is this. This is the enchondroma. This is the MRI spine, which show these are the normal vertebra, and this is the CSF, which is a white, mean this is a T2 sequence is card. There are the multiple bone metastases which are compressing the card. Then the skeletal scintigraphy. Skeletal scintigraphy is done by using small amount of the radioactive material called radiotracer that are injected into the bloodstream. The radiotracer travels through the area being examined and gives off radiation in the form of the gamma rays, which are detected by the special gamma camera and a computer to create the images of the bone. In this case, gamma rays are involved, and previously the X-rays are involved. The skeletal scintigraphy offer potential to identify disease in its earlier stage. Most common indication to find out the primary bone tumor, to find out bony metastasis is nowadays the most important indication. More sensitive to detect the mets than X-ray, a whole body covered in the scintigraphy, rather go for the skeletal survey. We in the skeletal survey we have to do multiple X-rays of different body parts, but in the skeletal scintigraphy we have to do just a whole body scan, because it covers the whole body, and it help in diagnose of the cause or location of unexplained bone pain. Risk is the radiation exposure, and rarely there may be the contrast allergic reaction. This is the normal scan which we see, because it covers the whole body, and this is the metastasis. Multiple these black dots, these are the metastasis which pick up the contrast, which pick up the agent or radio tracer which was given to the patient. These are the metastasis, because these are the multiple areas of the bodies are involved. So this is the metastasis. This is the whole body scan. There is a lesion at the proximal tibia of the right side of the body, and there is another lesion which involves the left iliac blade. So these are the malignant bone tumor which take up the radio tracer. Then the ultrasound. Ultrasound uses a high frequency sound waves directed into the musculoskeletal structure. This uses the sound rays. Skeletal scintigraphy uses the gamma rays. CT and CT and X-ray uses the X-rays. Radiograph uses the X-ray, while the ultrasound uses the sound waves. So the each tissue of the skeletal system varies in density and its ability to transmit and reflect the sound. When we put the probe on the patient, it gives the sound waves which goes inside the body, and inside the body there are the different type of the tissues which reflect or transmit the sound waves at different frequencies, and these frequencies are converted into the images, and which we see on the computer. The image quality depend on the frequency and the type of the transducer. Ultrasound is also a non-ionizing imaging modality. There are the two imaging modalities which are non-ionizing. First is the ultrasound, then is the MRI. Indication: the soft tissue or a bony mass, guidance for the injection of any steroid, or for the sclerotherapy or something, or a bundle branch, bundle nerve block, and for the biopsy of the lesion. And risks are a contraindication are usually not, because it is a non-ionizing radiation, so there's no any risk of the ionization. We can use it safely in the pregnant woman, and there is no any contrast is given, so there is no any issue of the allergic reaction. This is the normal anatomy on the ultrasound. The first one, bright line, is the epidermis or a dermis, mean skin. Then there are the subcutaneous tissue. These are the somewhat black in color. Then the fascia, which is also a white line. Then these are the muscles. You see, there are the oblique lines are going. These are the muscles. Then the imaging features of the bone tumor. The normal cortex of the long bone is seen as a thin hyperechoic line. Hyperechoic mean bright line. This bright line. So, which produce the posterior acoustic shadowing, mean it gives the posteriorly black shadow. Then the ultrasound is used to assess the integrity of the cortex in the longitudinal and transverse plane. Color Doppler is used to assess the neovascularity of the tumor and to identify the tumor relationship to any adjacent neurovascular structure. This is the normal ultrasound which show there is a, this is the bony cortex. These arrows shows the bony cortex. And this is the deep fascia, and these are the dermis, subcutaneous tissue. These are the muscles which are going obliquely and longitudinally. So this is the bone cortex, which is irregular, and there is a soft tissue component. There's a cortical destruction with a soft tissue component. So this is an aggressive lesion with a soft tissue component. In the summary, the diagnostic imaging can be a valuable tool when used in conjunction with a thorough history and a physical examination for establishing a diagnosis and treatment plan of the bone tumor. None of the imaging modality have a complete dominance over the other. The radiograph are the initial imaging modality in the bone tumor. The combination of the X-ray finding and the patient age can help to narrow down the differential diagnosis. The MRI is often the recommended imaging in evaluation of the neuromuscular bundle or extraosseous involvement by the tumor. CT is optimal imaging modality, imaging study, especially when MRI is contraindicated. Ultrasound can be used to detect the bone masses, but it is really mostly for the biopsy of the lesion or for the injection of the steroid or for the therapy of the sclerotherapy of the lesion. Now there are some cases we have to assess. There is a osteolytic lesion with no sclerotic margin. It is in the epiphysis, and this is the X-ray. This is the MRI. The cortex is intact, and there is a narrow zone of transition. No any periosteal reaction. Whether it is a benign or a malignant, it is a benign lesion. Then these are the multiple imaging modalities. This is the X-ray. This is the skeletal scintigraphy. These are the MRI images that show there is a subtle abnormalities when we compare both the iliac bones. But on the skeletal scintigraphy, there is a marked tracer uptake, and on the MRI, we show there is abnormal signals with a soft tissue component. This is a lesion, aggressive lesion with a wide zone of transition, sunburst periosteal reaction, and there is a Codman triangle. This is the X-ray. These are the MRI images. So this is there is a wide zone of transition and the aggressive type of periosteal reaction. Osteolytic lesion with a narrow zone, yeah, sclerotic margin and narrow zone of transition. There is no any cortical destruction, no any periosteal reaction, no any soft tissue component. So this is a benign lesion. The chondroid versus osteoid calcification. Usually, in the osteoid, there is a solid and a bright calcification. When there is a chondroid calcification, it is a punctate or a small arc-like calcification. So this is the chondroid calcification. The lesion is intramedullary, which is causing endosteal scalloping. This is the pressure remodeling of the inner endosteum of the bone. And there is no any cortical destruction, no any periosteal reaction, but there is a wide zone of transition. So it is a chondrosarcoma. So now you can ask the question if you have any. For the first baseline investigation, always is the X-ray. Without X-ray, no any tumor can be proceed, because majority of the tumor roughly assess it is these are the benign or a malignant tumor on the X-ray. At least we can assess on the basis of the age and the radiological features on the tumor on the X-ray in around 70 to 80% of the cases, whether it is a benign or a malignant. Whenever there is a benign lesion, we don't need any further imaging modality. for the malignant, it is very necessary, especially then we go for the MRI. Whenever there is a malignant lesion, we have to assess the local extent of the lesion for the treatment purpose. For the management purpose, we have to assess the local extent, which muscles are involved, which nerves are involved, which vessels are involved, whether these are involved or these are spared. So on these basis, the surgery has planned or a treatment plan. So for the malignant, next investigation is MRI, but always first investigation is the CT. Oh, sorry, X-ray. And MRI is the next nowadays because it is no radiation, but most of the time, most of the center, it is not available. Then we go for the either CT or for the skeletal scintigraphy. Basically, osteomyelitis usually on radiologically mimicker of the Ewing sarcoma. Both occurs in a young patient, but there are the certain features like osteomyelitis is usually infective process in which most of the time there is a periosteal reaction is the Codman's or a lamellar periosteal reaction, but in the which involve the metaphysis. Osteomyelitis involve the metaphysis of the bone. Eosinophilic granuloma involve the diaphysis of the bone. But it is basically on the clinical history. There is a short history of fever. There is a bone pain. There is a soft tissue swelling. On these cases, we go for the we differentiate osteomyelitis from the bone tumor. Otherwise, osteomyelitis radiologically present is an aggressive lesion. The word really involved the benign and aggressive, not a malignant, because of this. The osteomyelitis come in differential diagnosis of the bone tumor, and osteomyelitis is not a malignant disease. That's why the words usually used as a benign and aggressive lesion. We have to assess. So this basically 1 to 2 features which are used radiologically. Otherwise, clinical on the clinical base, we can differentiate the osteomyelitis from the bone tumor. Any other query? Almost every bone tumor, even when there is a benign lesion which is large enough, it causes the pressure remodeling and the cortical thinning. Whenever a lesion is osteolytic, whether a benign or a malignant, it is large enough. If it is a benign and large enough, it causes the pressure remodeling or a pressure erosion of the inner cortex, endosteum. So it causes the cortical thinning. But usually these benign tumor does not causes the cortical destruction. It cannot destroy the cortex. It causes thinning, but doesn't destroy the cortex. The malignant lesion, whether small, large, it causes the cortical destruction and periosteal reaction resulting in periosteal reaction, and it causes the soft tissue component. So every tumor can do the cortical thinning depending on the size. If it is a small, it cannot do anything. But if it is a large, it can cause. There's no any gender. Most common, both are most common in the osteoid osteoma and osteoblastoma are common in the male predominantly. On the basis of the clinical history, we can differentiate these and the radiologically on the size of the lesion. But these are the more common in male. Osteoid usually a small, less than 1.5 centimeter radiologically, and osteoblastoma are more than 1.5 centimeter. Clinically, we differentiate on the basis of the clinical history. The patient usually complaining bone pain. When the bone pain resolve with the drugs, it is usually osteoid osteoma. When the bone pain doesn't resolve with the painkiller, it is osteoblastoma. Otherwise, both radiologically are same, but there is only difference of the size. Less than 1.5 centimeter osteoid osteoma, and more than 1.5 centimeter is the osteoblastoma. Best imaging modality is the CT, but because of the ionizing rays, we go for the MRI. Best non-ionizing is the MRI. Then contrast MRI, which show the enhancing nodule. Any query? Okay. So thank you so much. Now the meeting will be ended.